karakia from Councillor Chen.
Thank you. Opening karakia. Whakataka te hau ki te ulu. Whakataka te hau ki te tanga. Ke ma kina ki uta. Ke ma tana ki tai. E a ke ana te akakura. He o, he huha, he hahu. Ti he mauriola. Kia ora.
Thank you. I have an apology from Tim Scandrett for absence. That's the only one I have. I've got to note that Catherine's on Zoom. Is she online? No, okay. Should I turn up? I'll have to move that. Paul in second. All those in favour? Carried. No declarations of interest. Confirmation of the previous minutes. Do I have someone to move that? Sarah? Sam second. All those in favour? Carried. Public forum. First up, we have David Duffy, who's going to speak to proposed new Richmond cycle safety routes. Welcome, David. Just so you're aware, you have 5 minutes, and that will include any questions as well.
Is there a magic toy here?
The mouse. The mouse.
Oh, right.
Oop.
Okay. Thanks for the opportunity to come and speak about our cycle safety route proposal. This has come about as we have ongoing concern about the safety of children and other road users in Richmond, and brought about by a careful watching of the current cycle lanes that are marked on the roads, which they're on very busy commuter roads, and there are a number of hazards presenting themselves which led us to look for a safer option. We also are aware of community, we've got community support through a number of questionnaires we've presented at local events, and we're also aware too of the worldwide trend towards improving city infrastructures which provide greater access for cyclists, scooter riders and pedestrians. The proposal, the rationale behind it is based on the changing transportation systems, the changing transport options. This route proposes to use quiet suburban streets which have no competing elements like large service trucks, buses, etc., large streams of commuter traffic and cars and that kind of thing. And we also want to align the program with the current North Richmond road repair program, so that when the streets which have not been repaired yet are designed for repair, they can take into account the inclusion of this road safety, this cycle safety element in them. The route itself, as you can see, starts over at the Palms or the Shirley Intermediate School corner and wends its way through along North Parade where there is a current cycleway. It then turns into Averill Street where it will serve the new Banks Avenue School, which they turned the sod in the new site about 2 weeks ago, and they're looking to be in residence in there around about mid-late 2022, possibly 2023. So there'll be an increased cycle flow for the younger generation through that area. Down to Stapleton's Road, wends its way round through Dudley Street, Nichols Street, which are two streets due for a road repair program work in the new year, through onto the streets that have been repaired, including Perth and Alexandra, and emerges out by Fitzgerald Ave. The safety features considerations I've mentioned before: the commuter rush hour traffic, the narrow channels, the heavy traffic, the inherent traffic changes such as opening car doors, buses pulling in and out of traffic, etc. And we're suggesting that by rerouting those cycle options and the utilisation of appropriate signage and road markings, the danger factor will be significantly reduced. We've gone carefully over the proposed route to see what modifications might be necessary, and we've listed them there. Upgrading of the cycle path existing already in North Parade, 2 sets of traffic lights in North Parade to be retained. The entrance to the school, Banks Avenue School, may need to incorporate some design features to increase the safety of the school pupils. The design of Averill Street may involve narrowing of the current carriageway. The pedestrian safety crossing safety zone on North Avon Road at Nichols Street may need to be redesigned. That could be included in the Nichols Street repair program. And to give cyclists the safe passage across Fitzgerald Avenue at Alexandra Street, there may be need to install some kind of crossing facility. But then overall, we would like to see prominent signage installed, and this is in line to or alongside a proposal from our association that the speed limit in the quieter roads of Richmond be reduced to 40 kilometres an hour. In terms of a time frame, we'd like to see it worked in with the current road rebuild program, some of which has already been completed. And so we're probably looking at a 2 to 3 year fully completion of this scheme. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Just it's brilliant. Just to clarify, if you put the map up, just that little bit, is that going down North Parade or is it going inside the school fence?
No, it's going down North Parade on the current. There's quite a wide footpath from the Martians Road corner through to the old entrance to Shirley Boys High.
Right.
And
okay.
that's off road.
So it's pretty wide all the way down?
It's wide enough to accommodate cyclists. It would be wider than twice this desk.
Yeah, but it might be a good idea to look at seeing if you could put it on the inside of the fence along the schools, because Shirley Intermediate doesn't go right up to the fence. They're not using that, but right.
No, but the trees do.
I don't think
okay.
we should design it in the committee.
Thank you.
This actually,
Oh, really?
Thank you very much. It's great to have this type of deputation. Obviously, we're going to be going into the consultation for the long-term plan, so it'll be really important to submit. Also, within that, there's another program of work happening within our cycling infrastructure, which will look at local connections as well. So we do have a resolution up there that I'll put in after all the public forums have been done, just to make sure that we sort of look at some of these local connections that are being mentioned and actually how we're going to move them going forward. But thank you for your time.
Okay.
There's another one coming up soon. So, have a second public forum from June Pecker. Welcome, June.
Thank you. Everything's on here. Kia ora tātou, kia ora tātou katoa. Ngā miti o te ngā mihi o te rā, ko June Pecker ahau. I've come to talk about housing. And I'm hopeful that my neighbours and I can convince our council that what we're asking for is important and attainable. Given that it appears medium density housing is inevitable to some degree in our older suburbs, I suggest we give up complaining and instead look at ways to make it more palatable than the two current examples at 138 and 47 Mersey Street. In respect of these two developments, it's obvious that what this developer is selling is acceptable to the Christchurch City Council and its independent commissioners, but we residents nearby are affected and we're mostly of the opposing view. So I request that our council work with us towards a less polarising and more aesthetically pleasing future. On a walk around St Albans and Merivale recently, my partner and I studied and took photos of a number of medium density blocks. We imagined next door to our 100-year-old bungalow and we rated them. 1 pleasant, 2 easy on the eye, 3 acceptable, 4 unattractive, and 5 brutalist. I took notes and we further discussed and analysed at home, and we were surprised to find that there's not much between 1 and 5 that can't be put right with changes to architectural features and some attention to the colour spectrum and a genuine concern for the amenity of the neighbourhood. That would include vegetation, and we truly believe that it might be that easy. Wolfbrook Designs in particular are almost all two-storied. They're predominantly glaringly white with black window surrounds and roofs, and sometimes dark stained, usually upright wood panels. This style originated in Tudor times in England. It's quite foreign to our established landscape. It's designed to stand tall and draw attention in much the same way a stark wedding cake, a big white thing in the middle of the table, dominates that table. There were only a few of these on our walk, and they certainly did that. They appeared incongruent in the extreme. Although our neighbourhood housing comprises mainly single-storey dwellings, and our ideal would be for new builds to follow suit, it became obvious that large in itself is not the main problem. We saw many very large houses, in fact, some of them from the 19th century even, for instance, Nurse Maud and the Fitzroy and the Salisbury Foundation. Even these we could deem easy on the eye because of their presentation. In fact, 70% fell within our first 3 categories because of their colour palette alone. Sympathetic creams and ivories with roofs and trims from the same spectrum of the colour wheel. These are in fact known as heritage colours, suitable for older neighbourhoods. When accompanied by mature trees and lower paling fences, as opposed to white concrete block walls and or those tall black slatted palisades, this increased the visual amenity significantly. We noted that horizontal weatherboard or linear board softens the impact of large too in an area of older and smaller. We also noticed the predominant use of light green and or pale grey aluminium window framing. That was eminently suited to our older leafy neighbourhood too. The question most asked here and overseas currently in relation to the worldwide housing crisis is, why do new builds have to look so ugly? Well, they don't in our opinion. Our local knowledge is that these developers have paid around $500,000 each for the sections, and they will sell the 11 units for more than $600,000 each. That's what they're advertised for. So we find it hard to believe they would go to the wall if they were authoritatively required to clad in or significantly use horizontal weatherboard or linear or brick panelling on the street-facing aspects in our older suburbs. And if they were required to paint in colours sympathetic to the age and colouring of the existing housing in the area. And if they were required to add features such as profiled windows, trimmed in almost anything but black. If they were required to design their developments around existing mature trees to immediately mitigate or ameliorate the impact on neighbours.
Do you have much left to read?
Nearly finished. And finally, we would ask that the council requires developers to maintain the properties they buy between purchase date and demolition of starter building. This could be as simple as mowing lawns and collecting mail. The house next to us, previously always well maintained, has attracted much attention in the past 6 months because of its unkempt appearance. It's been entered illegally more than once, left insecure, a secure hazard exposed. Its owners haven't responded to polite requests to deal with this. A similar property on Innes Road has been
Ju-
flooded,
June,
vandalised,
I'm going to
we
have
had
to.
2 stolen
Sorry, June.
cars.
I'm going to have to stop you there because you're well over the 5 minutes.
Okay.
But thank you for your time, and we appreciate you coming to speak on behalf of a number of St Albans residents who are concerned with this type of infill. Obviously, that is shared by a lot of people also around this council table, and I guess it's potentially not going to get any better with the National Policy Statement on Urban Development, which will encourage this type of activity. And a lot of the communities that do have character areas aren't protected unless they're actually identified already within the district plan. So it's not going to be an easy way to try and preserve some of that character as we move forward. But we have done things in the past. In November last year, we had a report to look at the quality of our medium and high density dwellings, and also I guess when the developers go through the resource consent process, staff do work with them to try and suggest ways that they can actually keep to the character of communities, but ultimately it is with the developers for that end product. But we are very aware of your concerns, and we're trying to do our best to see how we can, I guess, mitigate some of the impacts of these developments into these communities. But thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anything else?
Also, I'd just like to note that Francine Bills was wanting to do a public forum, but she'd already presented to the community board. But I'll circulate after the meeting the letter that she'd put forward, just so other councillors are aware of what she wanted to say. Our last public forum, I'm not too sure if he's here, is from Chris Baxter. No, he's not. He's not here to present it. There is a PowerPoint on the hub if you want to have a look at it. So I've just got a resolution up there. Can we just put in some correct wording in there? Presentation provided from David Duffy. On the proposed new Richmond cycle safety routes. Yep. Thank you. To this committee.
Back to this committee.
Well, we can provide information, but I think we obviously had a very similar public forum that was going to be presented on another community, and I think this raises the fact that actually we have quite a bit of funding in the proposed long-term plan for, I guess, local connections, and I think it's really important we actually look at what that presents for the city. So maybe we need to actually tie that into some wider information to present back to the committee on, I guess, the second stage of the cycleway program that will actually allow cycleway connections to be connected and also for any gaps in the networks to be filled up.
Do you want that noted or included as part of the investigation?
No. Yeah.
Investigation.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have any ideas?
Okay.
You happy with that? Okay. Yeah.
Refers the issues about the presentation doesn't make sense. No.
Refer the issues
Or if,
raised by
oh, it's not.
in the presentation, isn't it? In the presentation to the Richmond Cycle Safety Room.
Presentation
About. Yeah,
Yeah.
about.
and just put for consideration by staff.
Yeah.
And respond to the
And respond.
of the
Mm.
consideration of the consideration by staff as a part of the report.
Wider or second stage.
Yeah, I guess the
Connecting the major cycle.
yeah, part of work that will connect major cycleway communities,
As part of work that will connect
local communities
local communities.
to major cycleways.
It will connect local communities to major cycleways. Full stop. Delete the rest.
Just had a question.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question.
So what's the question?
So just wondering when we can share the Avon Takaro MCR kind of route consideration.
So
'Cause
that's
this has
probably
got a
best,
lot
that's
of-
probably best saved to the transport report, which is coming up
Yep,
very shortly.
next.
but
Ian's got a
well,
question.
I mean, for those of us who have seen it, it seems like we're just talking about the same space.
Yanni, I
area.
just
Okay.
answered you.
Ian.
And
Yeah, just further to that note, and maybe how communities raise a need for, their concern, or how do we go through the process of actually a community bringing the attention of the committee to the fact that they need a connecting part to a cycleway? How does the process work?
yeah. Look, we'll take it off. Take that offline. Take it offline.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's, do you
Yeah,
think
this
that's
is just
included
because it's
in
been
that?
raised, so we'll take that offline.
We'll give it consideration.
Yeah. Aaron,
Okay.
did you want to say something before we?
Well, it's just around the same thing that I think a particular community has done an incredible amount of work to bring what they believe is a fact-based presentation to the council. That if we were an enabling council, we would go, why can we not do that? And we should, on every single cycleway we do, we should be weighing up. In some areas, do we get a better bang for buck by putting this in because you'll get this many people on bikes versus another area where you might not get many. But we need to, when this comes back, it should be why can't it be done, not it goes into an eventual long-term plan
Totally agree
after
with
all
you.
the cycleways are finished.
I totally agree, and it's actually a very good presentation, and that's why we need to make sure we actually put a resolution in place to ensure it does not get lost. But anyhow, I'm happy to move that. Do I have a?
Yeah. Yeah, tell us if it can be done, and if not, why not?
Okay.
Can I just suggest that you
Sorry,
note?
actually, stop. Hang on, stop. I'm just going to move this, and we're going to get a second. Jake, and I'll take it offline, and we'll get something to actually cover all the secondary
workshop,
routes and
yeah.
connect gaps at a later date. Okay. Jake's re-second. All those in favour? Any opposed? Great. Carried. And we did the whole. That covered the whole lot of the public forums. Excellent, thank you. Right, we're going to move to items 7. Item 7, the bi-monthly transport report.
Mr. Chair, I'll take the report as read. There's nothing in particular I need to bring to the committee's attention this time round, but I do have all the relevant transport managers here. Mark Pinner, who's the maintenance manager, Stephen Thomas, operations, and Lynette, who does capital delivery and LTP.
Excellent. We'll go straight into questions. Yanni, do you have questions?
Oh, thanks. Several, actually. So I'm just concerned about the bollards, the high cost of the bollards, and the fact that we don't get any governance say in in that process. So obviously in here it just says that they're going in. So there's no opportunity for us to consider the costs associated with what's proposed.
The costs were approved as part of the annual plan, and we're delivering on the annual plan.
So for like smaller things, we would get a report that said, here's the options, here's the costs, but we haven't had that for the bollards. And I don't quite
You've had
understand.
briefings on the bollards, but every transport proposal is slightly different in that some of them require community board decisions, some of them require committee decisions, some of them require decisions of council. This one was decided by council via the annual plan, and we've had 2 briefings on it. And the opinion of the council when we briefed you last was to certainly continue with delivery of the bollards, and that's what we've done.
Whoa. Yeah.
Well, it was because we took a straw poll and it was quite clear.
It was clear through the briefings we had that there was guidance to go down this for these bollards, and it was put through the annual plan process.
It's just a one-line item where the budget was increasing.
Right? The question's been answered.
Okay, so I just wanted to check on the cycleways. So the Apalaho River route, it's great that you've said that there's some funding available now to coordinate with the land drainage program. How's the best way to access that funding for particularly the Kiwi Rail Opawa bridge? Because that's an area where we've got land drainage, we've got an opportunity to just think about some of the synergy between works that's currently happening. There's also, I mean, there's quite a strong community desire for that Opawa Road, Richardson Terrace area, village area, to be enhanced through the CREF funding. So it would just seem sensible to try and get some preliminary design work in that location.
So we have brought enough funding forward to undertake preliminary design work, not construction work. So there is money to do design work to ensure that we are aligned, and it has been done and it is being done, and the appropriate community boards have been briefed if they've been asked, so that's been happened.
The response I got back was the cycleway is not going to be constructed to 2025, and therefore
It isn't, and no decisions have been made, and hence we can't do any construction until we've had a decision.
No, I'm not talking about the construction, I'm just talking about the design, so it's incorporated into...
We are starting the design and figuring out the route, but it's 5 or 6 kilometres of route. So we're trying to understand what the land drainage team and the impact that the land drainage team has on the banks of the river, and how that impacts what we can or can't do as part of the cycleway. But that's the level at which it is. Okay. It's not down to a specific point under a specific bridge. So the bridge you've mentioned is, as you're aware, a Kiwi Rail bridge that is being replaced. So they are replacing their infrastructure across the river. That is their project that we have no role in. Now, I understand the desire to coordinate, but we don't have money to do any construction works or coordination down there until 2028. And it might not be where the route goes, because that's not fully determined yet. Now, the third question you raised was about CRAF. The CRAF prioritisation conversations will be coming back to each of the boards, as we've talked about in all of the processes, so the team will be coming back to the board in the next few months.
Just the Heathcote Expressway Route 2, this is on page 15. It says the final consent for the work has been lodged. Contract documents are being prepared. I know that there was also an engagement consultation on the proposal to change the road.
That still has to come back to the committee.
So if the road proposal doesn't go through, does that impact on the consent?
Yes.
Potentially.
So would we not be better to resolve that issue first before we lodge the consent?
Only if we're going to ask you to resolve an issue.
Sorry?
Only if there is a change proposed. So, but it does have to come back.
Okay. I don't know how others feel, but I'm a little bit concerned. Do you know from that engagement what the feedback has been to date around the one line?
Is to not change. The clear feedback has been to not change the use of that street.
Yeah, that's what worries me.
Lynette, when are we going to get?
We'll get a report back on that. But there's been clear.
So when are we expecting the report back to the committee on
I'll have to check with the team, but it should be in the next couple of months.
Okay, thank you. Could you just
But
update
I
us
need, it
on...
before, I need it before committees.
Yeah,
Sorry,
could
do
you
you
just
under-
update us, please, on the, I guess, the
Yep.
process for that?
Do you understand the issue though? Is that we've lodged the consent, and in the meantime, the consent will be processed.
It
and
may. We just said it may have an impact.
Well,
I don't know how they've lodged the consent. So
okay.
with the
Yeah, I've just asked for Lynette just to give us an update, so she'll feedback.
Oh, okay, cool. Just two other questions. One is, I've sent round through the Future Streets Aranui report that was done, and there's been a lot of stuff happen since it was complete, but it's a really good report, and I was just interested to get a staff response memo, some advice back on how we could actually incorporate the findings of that report into our work programs, and I'm not quite sure the best way to do that, so I just thought I'd...
So I don't know, Future Streets was not our report, as in Transport's report, and it's not even a council report. It was actually funded by NZTA, and it was a study that was undertaken with Hayata College and the campus there, and a number of other community groups. I fully agree with Councillor. It is a great report. That has been fed back to the community board. I believe it's the community board needs to bring it back to council to feed it into that long-term planning process.
It hasn't come back to our board, but regardless,
Would have been a while ago.
So the best thing is what you're saying is get community boards to come to council asking for action on it.
It needs to come back as a community board priority. It's not our report. We provided information to support the report, but it's not our report.
No, that's cool.
I think, and Phil and James would have heard that, so I think you guys could sort of take a bit of a lead there to get that report in front of us.
Yeah, well, I mean, I
It is
also
a good report, and
represent
there's
some of that area too, so I'll work with you guys and we'll get something. And just finally, the real-time information system seems to be not working. I'm really concerned that we've now got a new system, but we've had no briefing on it, as best I can tell. So I did put this question ahead. Can you just give me some sense of what's happening with our current real-time information? Is it working? Is it functional? And do we have any idea about the numbers that are not working and the cost of repair until we get the new system in? And then the new system that's proposed, what is it? And how can we have assurances that that money is being well spent and not just on another system that's going to cause issues going forward, like we've seen with the previous one?
So for those of you who are not familiar with it, the Public Transport Real-Time Information System is jointly managed by ECAN and Christchurch City Council, and what it does is provide that sort of information to the bus traveller. You're correct. It is at the end of its life and is at risk of significant failure. So, but what we've also found is that a number of those systems are no longer used because people have apps on their phone, and it's just not simply necessary for us to replace all of those RTI systems across the entire network. So what we've done, and we have put this in numerous, I think we've updated the committee quite regularly on this process, but we've entered into a new contract with NEC, and they've got international experience in delivery of these sorts of systems, and we will replace about 100 of them. There's about 350 at the moment. We'll replace about 100 of them at the key locations, and then there's a number of other ones which can be recalibrated. I think there's about 60 or 80, 70 can be recalibrated under the new network. So you'll end up with less, but they will work better, and they will be placed in locations where the need is the most. So far better system, more up to date, but you're correct, the existing one is past its use by date and needs to be replaced. No.
Screens, and then there's the old ones.
No, it's past end of life and does need to be replaced. And it was one of the things that got indicated as part of the PT Futures work as well. So it was a recommendation that be replaced, but that was already in train.
So I guess that leads to the question, if it's not working, should we just turn it off and tell people rather than people get incorrect time of when buses are coming?
It will be replaced imminently, and I think the best thing to do is we are still managing the system as it currently stands. It's not perfect, but I wouldn't recommend getting rid of the whole system, because it needs to both speak to the system on the bus, but also the system at the bus interchange as well. So there's three components to it: what sits at the bus stop, what works on the bus, and what sits at the bus interchange. So I wouldn't recommend turning it off. But what we do need to do is get on with replacing it with the new system as soon as possible, and we're doing that.
So when will we see the new system?
Hesitant to put an exact date on it, but we're certainly looking at Q2, Q3 this year, so this calendar year. So I'm hopeful it'll be done by, the end of Q3.
I mean, I don't know how other people feel, but it's just really frustrating for people when they go to catch the bus. They push the button, told a bus is coming in 20 minutes, and it's a 10-minute frequency down the road, or they go on the website and they get wrong information. I think it's doing huge damage to people catching the buses, and another 6 months of that.
Spoken to your points.
Yeah, thank you. I've got two quick questions. 3.8 was the lower Styx Marsh and Bridge work, and that's on page 18. So I see there that the land drainage recovery project to naturalise the box drain is currently on hold, and that would be concerning the lamprey there.
No, it's a different section of the drain. They can't change that section where the lamprey are, because they actually nest in the box.
So is it to the north or the?
I think so, yes.
And so why is that on hold? Is that budgetary or?
I can't answer that, I'm sorry.
But will that not hold the project up?
No.
Okay, that's fine. And the second question is the gnarly old Laguna Gardens palm tree in Clearbrook Palms. While I've got you there, can I ask what's happening there?
There should have been a memo which has gone out. If you haven't received it already, we're repairing it. And Councillor Major gave us a bit of advice, which was very useful, and that saved us a bit of money. So we've taken that on board, and we'll replace it. But I think my recollection of the discussion last time round, there was a specific issue around Laguna, but the wider issue was around developers doing greenfield type subdivisions, building roads, and putting in place these sorts of things, which we inherit, and they cause cost to council. So
I know my question is about the repair job on that one, because they're my constituents who are hounding me about it. I haven't seen the memo. Have I missed it? Has it gone out?
It's coming.
It's coming. Okay, and will there be options, or is it just one?
No, just one option, and it'll be repaired.
Okay, thank you. I'll look forward to the memo.
Yep.
Cheers.
Sarah.
Thank you. Just looking back a couple of minutes to a couple of things that Yanni mentioned. The Cumnor Terrace roading change for Heathcote Expressway. I understand Heathcote Expressway is shovel ready and time sensitive for a range of reasons, not just shovel ready, but lizards and bits and pieces. So having that report through would be great. How to involve the community board, getting the community board briefed, and whether there's a briefing at the same time as councillors, I don't know, but
We'll figure it out.
That would be really good. And the other one is the Kiwi Rail Bridge. And while we can't do anything because there's currently no funding sitting till 2025 or later for that particular cycleway, if the design work was, the work for land drainage and the design work was advanced enough earlier in that, council could make a decision to shift some funding. So I don't want the lack of funding in the budget for now to hold up sort of plans to do something. So that section of road floods frequently. It's a high use pedestrian area for kids getting to school, that kind of thing. And it would be good to have it sorted.
I understand that, but we do also have to have the route.
Yeah. So
before
once
we start spending money on the road.
So not saying do it now.
Yeah.
But if that design, once that design work gets done and the work with land drainage, then it could come to annual plan next year. That we could make a small change there to get a section done. But it's a really horrid area for people to pass through at high tide. So yeah, thanks.
Sam.
Just a quick one on 3.3, the CRAF. So it looks like it's all progressing well. When we get that in future, This once we've got the list, and will there be timelines on when that work's going to be completed in terms of?
Well, that's part of the prioritisation that they'll work through with the boards as well.
Yeah. So that prioritisation, on that prioritisation stuff, are we going to prioritise the work that doesn't need to be consulted on in an effort to get stuff moving quicker?
Well, that's nuts and bolts of the business case.
Yeah, we will be coming back, as Lynette indicated, we will be coming back to the boards who have craft funding over the next month or so, maybe two, with a view to doing some of the easy wins this financial year. So that's always been our intention. The business case spoke to having the money spent by mid-2023, and that's certainly our intention to, comply with what the business case said. And I think that'll be a discussion with the boards as to, what they see as priorities and what they want done first. I mean, there is some stuff in there which may require, and I'm thinking, when you start removing car parks and other things for renewals around streets, there might be specific consultation which is required for some projects. Other ones, none at all. So, we can get on with that, and we've got the contractors in place to do it.
Okay, so do you have a sense of what that might look like in terms of split? Whether there's half that's going to be non-consulted and just got on with?
We'll be able to bring that back to you, and we can prioritise it around that and give you an indication of what stuff we think can just be done without further approvals or consultation, and what stuff might need to go through a separate process.
Yeah. Cool, thank you.
Jimmy.
One question. On page 20, paragraph 4.1, because this year annual plan, we increased $4.5 million, pretty good, and start particular emphasize triple, or original maintenance role, yes. But I'm concerned is because summer role, even reseal, but after the short period of time, then damage again, pothole or quake. So in here, principle is very good. And the particular start emphasize, like to engage with the contractor, ensure scoping agreement work align with council expectation. But I suggest the start should be the review each of the roles, particular situation. Summer road quake, easy to resume, all done. But summer road, because due to the traffic flow or heavy motor vehicle pass through, this one very, very crucial, important. I would like to, suggest each one need to review more clearly, detailedly. Yes. Otherwise, just waste the money, waste the time.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Aaron.
Cool. Got a few. First one, because it come up at the disability meeting on Monday, was the disability car parks by the town hall on Colombo Street that were going to be, as you come just past Kilmore coming from the north, they were on the left. There's about 3. They're still not in place yet or marked. Is that waiting for the other Colombo Street consultation? Because I thought they were just
so north of. Sorry.
It'll be south of Kilmore.
Yeah, that's the bit that we have to finish. So there is still construction works to be done there.
Right.
And the construction works haven't been let.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So that's.
So
do we have a ballpark time for that?
Well, it hasn't been. It's going next month to the community board and then month after to council. So after that.
So.
It's probably 6 months away, to be
fair. Okay, this year. Now.
Start this year.
Yeah. The other one is the bus trial from when they did the Northern Corridor, the free bus and stuff. Have we had numbers on the success or lack of for that?
I haven't had numbers. I've only had discussions with Environment Canterbury, and it sounds like it's been popular, but I haven't got any numbers yet. But we will get them.
Right. I would have thought that we would have those, but that's all right. But so they'll come at some point. It'll show us what that looks
Well, it's
like.
still pretty early days, given that part of it was over January, which is school holidays and traffic flows are different. We don't like to do monitoring over that period, but they would have them. But I think they're at pains to kind of make sure they've got a reasonable handle on what those numbers look like before they start reporting them.
Yeah,
Richard, can we also make sure that when we get the numbers on patrons, we also look at the travel time savings that have been made on that route because of the express bus route compared to what it used to be, so we can have a good look at everything.
Yeah, because I've seen a couple at peak time buses coming down there, and to say they were empty would be a compliment. So they had like 5 and 6 people on, each bus, which was a concern. I thought they were going to be quite full. And then the Hereford Street lights that are over by the bridge there, so they're changing. Were they never planned or designed when the promenade was done? Because they're moving the control box and have cut a big track through all that really nice tile that was put down 2 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago. That nice, I don't know what it is, slate or something, which looks really expensive to replace quite a lot of it. And I mean, it's got a big asphalt patch through it now, but I'm sure that won't be the final look. The traffic light controllers, they're probably ours.
The intersection's been done as part of the Hereford Street upgrade, and we do have those slate tiles. We are working with Otakaro to get those, so we have arranged them in stock, so if things do need to be replaced, we can go in, given that that's now our asset, we can go in and replace them. So that would be done as part of the Hereford Street upgrade.
Right.
Yes, they are. That's correct. So the traffic signal boxes all around Christchurch. As you remember, the council's put more money into the annual plan and long-term plan for replacement of those because some of those assets are pretty old. Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, because it would appear that the design one, you wouldn't have done that part and then changed it within a couple of years. So was that not?
No, it wasn't done as part of the promenade. That was the bit that was left out and came back to us to deliver. So the promenade went up to either side, and we've had to do a intersection as part of the bridge and the Hereford Street upgrade. So that was left out, and there was a report to council about that. Transferred from Otakaro to us. Our responsibility, the bridge surfacing is us. We're doing that on behalf of Otakaro as well.
Okay. And then the Madras Litchfield Street lights, I thought at a meeting a couple of weeks ago, because the mayor had raised it about turning them off, and then also probably Cashel as well. Oh, all Barbados Cashel.
Is this where the road's been stopped?
Road's stopped, because I got an email from someone about it, and I thought I'd just raise it.
That's been fixed.
Which one?
So we did pick up on that. There was a briefing yesterday about the multi-use arena.
Yeah.
And essentially...
You are, darling.
Thank you. Thanks,
hey,
sweetie.
hey, paper car. Phil, drink the quote.
So those signals have been fixed on an interim basis, because obviously there's further work that will need to be done once the design of the stadium is further progressed.
Right.
And, they'll be, that whole area around there will be upgraded. And that's pretty detailed in that presentation we gave to council yesterday. So I can recirculate that if
Yeah, so what's fixed? So, because they're all still there and still on. So what does it mean?
It's still there and still on, but I think the issue, Stefan, do you want to speak to it? It's more your cup of tea.
So I think the concern was that they were impeding the flow of traffic and they weren't necessary. So what the team's done is to make sure they've taken away the permanent demand for the side street. So that's now comes on
triggered
demand.
only.
Yeah. So, but in reality, the Madras Street is on a platoon anyway. So as you move down Madras Street, it goes on the green wave. So it only would the lights at that intersection have only held you. Oh, sorry, sorry, I'll sit back down again. Sorry. Is that better? Yeah, and so what was I thinking? So it's they're on the green wave anyway. So those lights.
But some people are just going around the block, so they'd go left in and then out.
Yeah. So they're the ones that would have been held for it. So what they're now is effectively on permanent green, and unless someone comes from the side street to call that movement, and then they'll go to red and let the person out the side street. Also, pedestrians also can call them as well. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because unbelievably, someone was watching the meeting and then contacted me and said, "Oh, the mayor said this, but they're still there." And blah, blah.
Yeah. So we haven't switched them off per se because obviously pedestrians still want to be able to get across the street. So yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. They did actually, was their words. They said the mayor said that they were in. That was their exact
and it's been
words.
done.
Yeah. Okay, I'll tell them it's been done, but it's not how they thought, but it is exactly how. and I'll
Any
tell
more
them to
questions,
rewatch
Aaron?
this. Yeah, one more.
Don't actually do that, Aaron. It'd be helpful if you told people that.
Yes, I don't. I said the mayor's extremely powerful.
So
She
what's your
just
last question,
wields it
Aaron?
carefully. The cycleway along the Northern Railway line, how's that progressing? Because I get the odd question by people that
It's really well.
Yeah, because that one's popular along the
Yeah.
the railway line.
And there's a really popular goat track along the railway line there, isn't there?
Yes, there
Yeah.
is.
It is actually progressing well. We are looking to, we're just about to award contracts for some of the bits that aren't on Kiwi Rail land, which is getting started. So through Barnes Reserve, so some of the bits that are off it, and the section from Sticks Mill Overbridge up to Northwood, so widening that path so they can use the shared path up to Northwood. So that's going to get going, but we are also managing to progress very well with our designs with Kiwi Rail.
At that point,
for
it
the
goes
rest.
up Main North Road, and then does it go cut back by the supercentre?
It actually stops at the supercentre.
Right. So it doesn't go
That's
through
the-
the new subdivision.
Not.
Right. Okay.
So and then at that point, that's when it'll start needing to connect into the local network
Right.
as that gets built over
And the bit
years.
on the rail corridor, that's
That's progressing well as well. We're just about at 100% designs with Kiwi Rail, and they've agreed to design. So we are progressing, and we've got an agreement for the lease, but we've got to have the designs agreed to get the lease agreed. So it's a bit of chicken and egg, but we are.
and is
The
that
chicken and
likely this
egg
year?
are.
Yeah. That's
are
a forever
working
debate
together.
which one goes first. But which is that likely to be this year? We'd see that.
We'll be starting the designs. We'll be starting the construction on the non-Kiwi Rail bits this year. We are aiming to get construction started on Kiwi Rail land this year. Yes.
Right. Because it
I'm
just
not going to put my hand in my heart and guarantee it.
well, it just if the pressure needs to be on Kiwi Rail, does the council write to or get our MPs to muscle up a little?
So as we mentioned it, I think it was Finance and Performance Committee last week. Councillor Turner did have a conversation with Minister Robertson, and that has
Is he the Minister of Trains?
realised benefit, and that we are working together and much more aligned.
Right.
And look, Kiwi Rail as an organisation, their priorities are a lot more focused in Auckland. To be fair, there's a lot more going on up there, but it did help refocus priorities down here, and we are seeing progress, so it's good.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And it's a shovel-ready project as well, and Minister Robertson's the infrastructure minister as well. So,
okay,
it helps.
James.
Kia ora. 3.10, the downstream effects. I just want to understand the first bullet point. See where it says traffic counts currently indicate volumes have not reached pre-CN Northern Corridor opening volumes. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm not sure. Now, what, are you expecting the volumes to be greater than the opening volumes, or they should be less than?
3.10, the first bullet point. Traffic counts indicate volumes have not reached pre-CNC. So, look, the main concern with the whole downstream effects was that obviously the CNC finishes at the Cranford Innes intersection, and there'd be a lot of dispersed traffic running down local routes, and the scheme of the plan was really to seek to dissuade people from doing that and keep them on Cranford Street. So it appears that is working from the information that we have. There's certainly some streets which are experiencing an increase in traffic flows, and we're continuing to monitor that. And as you'll see, we've put in some temporary measures down there around Francis Ave and etc. Thames Street. So yes, you would have expected it to potentially be more, but that was the whole issue that we needed to monitor as part of the downstream effects management.
Sorry, you're talking about the rat running rather than the Cranford Street, is that right? Those volumes.
That's right.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Cranford Street itself. Right, you've just clarified it for me. Thanks.
Phil.
Guys, just touching on the bollards with what Yanni said, why do we have to get people in from overseas to put these in? Have I read that right? Have we got to get installers from overseas?
Yeah, it's...
Can we... I know people that can dig holes. actually.
Yeah. When we did the briefing at the end of last year, we showed you the
Yeah, I saw them. Does it need special that?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Right.
you
No
want
problem.
the hazardous vehicle mitigation.
Okay. Dyers Pass Road. How are we sort of looking there? Just giving a wee update on how things are going.
Can we not put an update on this? Better make sure we put an update in this next time on that one. It's a big job. Sorry. It's progressing well. They're really starting. I believe they've just about finished the inside works, and they're about to start on the outside. So the wall works next week. I'm looking to get up there with Kirk and do some. They're looking to do some videos so that people can see what's going on up there inside the closed site. The traffic management seems to be improving. We have had a few issues.
I'm just hearing that there's a few wee issues on the outside that could be with the stability of the ground on the outside. Have you?
No, I haven't
Okay.
been made aware of that.
Problem. No problem. And my old favourite here, the old coastal pathway. We've got the plans here now. And you might have told me once before, what percentage of the path is cantilevered? I'm just trying to get in my head how is it so expensive? Is 50%, 10%, just a bit on the corner right up by the...
They're trying to only put as much cantilever in as we absolutely need.
Yeah.
It is the section between the Christchurch Yacht Club
Yes.
and Shag Rock that has the potential to be cantilevered, but not all of it is. And I can't put a percentage on it, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah. Okay.
But as far as the percentage of the route, it'll be a minor percentage.
A little bit. And the nice stone rock wall round there, I can't quite see it on there. That's definitely
revetment.
staying, isn't it? The solid wall between the cars and the...
No, not necessarily.
Oh, really? Okay.
No.
Okay. And that's about...
It's not a heritage wall, by the way.
Sorry, what was
It's
that?
not a heritage item.
All right, so it could well be coming out, that wall. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Is that
Just
all?
concrete.
I'll have debate stuff later.
Excellent, good to know. Anne?
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to ask sort of questions and clarify things. A couple of things. Just wondering about the variable speeds along a road, why they change. 40, 50, 60 along one stretch of road.
Might ask Stefan to speak to that one, if that's okay.
Is that in general or a specific
There is,
location?
this one that we're looking at, Monkspur, there are changing speeds along there, but there's also other roads throughout Christchurch, for example, Horsfall Junction Road. It's a lot of different speeds along there, and just wondering, understanding what's behind it.
Yeah, so we set speed limits to the speed limits rule and also the speed management guide. So it's basically speed limits are based on the risk, and I guess NZTA produces what's called mega maps, which gives an indication based on the risk of the road what the speed limit should be. We then use that and in conjunction with the speed management guide to set a speed limit. That can result in, as a road goes through different environments, the speed limit can change. And one of the things that NZTA were trying to achieve under the last sort of major change to speed limits was to get less speed limits and be more consistent across the country. So there's real emphasis on 60s and 80s rather than 70s and 90s, for example, and so much so that under the guide and the rule you have to get special dispensation from NZTA to use those alternate speed limits. So that's to try and reduce some of the confusion and the different types of speed limits. Where I guess it probably impacts Christchurch the most is the speed limits that come in underneath, below 50, and you've got your 30s and 40s, which is, and as a general rule around that, 40s are residential, and then the 30s are in your high, your sort of your areas of with a place function, a high place function, as well as a high number of or concentration of active users as well. So that's where you get your sort of town centres or your little key activity areas, which may be 30. Then the difference with that is obviously with the variable speed limits we have outside schools, which are currently have to be 40. although there is some work being done at a national level to try and change those to 30s, but I haven't heard an update on that for a while, so I'm not sure where that's got to. It's gone a bit quiet. But does that sort of answer your question?
Yep, that's really great. And as an area changes, are they reviewed, or what's the process? What happens? Does it come through a community board that there's a need for a change, or what happens there?
Yeah, look,
Stephen?
it can come through any way. It can come from a member of the public. It can come through the community board. My staff also identify areas. We've done, as you know, we've done a number of speed management changes across sort of the key residential areas. And with those ones in particular, we tried to, based on the advice we got from the councillors a few years back, we tried to do it where the residents want it, so where they raise it. So we've got, I think, Night Stream and these sort of areas have been areas where that was requested by the public, and we've sort of followed that. So yeah, so it can come from any number of sources. But we also the mega maps that comes from EZTA highlights the real high risk roads as well from a safety point of view, and we've got a requirement to review those on a more regular basis.
Thank you, really helpful.
Excellent. All right, someone want to move this report? Jimmy, seconder. Pauline? Phil, did you want to debate it?
Yeah, there's a couple of questions.
No, but debate.
Yeah, debates.
Don't start for what?
We're just talking about Aaron and the bus lanes and people not using the buses. Have we, a bit in the paper the other day about how the ECAN councillors were proposing free buses for 2 years.
Why do they love putting up people's rates?
So I thoroughly support this. I think this is great because we spend an absolute fortune on bus lanes, and to see people going past us in buses with not many in it, I think if we want to put our on the line, we should jump in with this and try it out, because if we don't try it, we'll never know. And I think we should throw some money at ECAN and give them a hand to do it. Just saying. Of course they can. We can afford it. We'll get it from somewhere else. And so I'd like to just say that we should encourage people to change the way they think and get on buses if we're serious about thinking about it, and use the bus lanes that we're spending so much money for. And from what I'm told, and Sarah might be able to tell me, if we get 5% out of cars into buses, it makes one hell of a difference, does it? Just 5%. So
it's debate. It is debate.
Okay, that's a good debate. The other thing I can't understand on the coastal pathway, why we spent a whole lot of money on asphalting that road when we know that we're going to now dig out perhaps that rock wall and the curb and things. It seems we're not going to win any friends on that bit. Just saying.
Thank you, Jimmy.
I would like to take this opportunity, particularly acknowledge the staff, particularly in where the Home Bay area concerned also traffic issue. But yesterday, very, very good. Staff have 5 kind of staff, wide range, the specialists to have a presentation in our community board. Also, we invited some key community leaders, representative attend, and also through the Q&A, they are all very satisfaction. I think that's a very good model. We can continue working together, to resolve this problem. The other one, particular Home Bay High School, Home Bay the primary school, the staff to help them, to have established a school travel plan, and also to undertaking the Park Smarter program. At least, build up a very good foundation and give those student and teaching staff confidence. So just want to acknowledge the staff regarding to this one.
Yanni?
Yeah, want to thank staff for the report. I have to say I'm very concerned that we haven't been briefed on the real-time information. If you think about public transport, and Phil's touched on the free fares, which is something that I've also supported in the past, we need to improve what we're doing around public transport. And one of the best things we could do is get integrated ticketing with a common technology across the country. I mean, it's quite silly at the moment that every council has their own system, their own consultants, spends a fortune on technologies that become obsolete. So in terms of real-time information, it would be fantastic to actually look at what other councils are doing and work in technology that goes across the country so that we get synergy and savings. It's been really disappointing to see that the current system is broken when we've invested so much for so long. And I do note, like Greater Wellington Council, they've had really good reporting on real-time information, but so I just think that we really should understand what's happening in that space, because I think the point that staff made, which is correct, is it's all tied into the screens at the bus exchange, the buses themselves, and then what's actually on the corner, on the footpath, or on the bus stops in the communities. So yeah, I personally think we should be getting more information. And then just to say that, I think doing the route selection for our cycleways and being transparent around that is really critical. We've heard from a community today who are putting forward suggestions, but we're not able to share what we're considering in terms of route selection. If we could work together with communities, it's the same through the Apawaho Heathcote area. If we could work together around even the route selection and design process, we'd be much better placed, I think, than rather than duplicating a whole bunch of efforts or people not knowing what's proposed and proposing other things.
There's just too much I want to answer. So I'll take some of that offline. The one thing, so I just said, so I'll take most of it offline. What I will do though is just talk to the one brief point about the asphalt down Main Road, which was done as part of the repairs for the road to the port. So a huge amount of work happened there, and was done well ahead of any shovel-ready, before COVID and before shovel-ready funding, at a time when the City Council had the funding for the Coastal Pathway out in 2027 and 2028. And so the Coastal Pathway work wasn't planned to be done for another 10 years, which is why the road got done. Thank you.
Aaron?
Yeah, I think the original major cycleways routes were all meant to be completed within 5 years, so I can see where the confusion lies there, Phil. I just want to second Phil's proposed motion around helping fund the buses. I think it makes sense. The only thing is that should come from the money we're going to spend on the infrastructure and on the bus lanes. Don't put in those 23 kilometres of bus lanes until we know that more than 2.2% of the population want to actually catch the bus. Then you find that out by doing the trial, but certainly not for the 2 years they're proposing, a lot shorter. We'll soon find out whether anyone actually wants to catch the bus. And I'm willing to run a book on it, or with all proceeds going to charity.
Excellent. Does anyone else want to contribute to this excellent debate on receiving a report?
Yeah, why not? The only thing I was going to say is, I can't remember the numbers because I haven't looked it up, but I had read that when the buses were free coming from Waimea into the city, there were less people on the bus than now when they have to pay.
Thank you. Fewer. All those in favour? Anyone opposed? Carried. That would be Councillor Chen. Could you please close the meeting for karakia?
Closing a karakia. Uluhia, 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 ki te ulu, tapu noe, te tani, te wakia, te mama, te host, te inana, te larua, I te awa, te kana, kia tina, homie, hulie,
Thank you. Thank you.